This is where the Ponzi scheme will grow exponentially in the years ahead into a fraud on steroids.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're examining major scandals that ruined an individual's reputation. We'll be focusing on scandals outside of the entertainment industry, so celebrities like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby will not be included.
The fighting is over. Your country, your possessions, and you are mine by right of conquest.
David Petraeus.
On Thursday, Petraeus went to the White House to turn in his resignation, the same place he has so frequently been called on to serve.
A prominent Army official, David Petraeus was commander of both United States Central Command and the International Security Assistance Force. And beginning in September 2011, Petraeus served as director of the CIA, having earned the spot after a unanimous 94-0 vote by the U.S. Senate. However, his tenure only lasted 1 year, as the FBI discovered that he had been having an affair with his own biographer, Paula Broadwell.
Well, now to the woman at the center of the scandal, biographer Paula Broadwell. It was the FBI's investigation into her that ultimately led to the downfall of David Petraeus.
Petraeus resigned on November 9, 2012, having served just 14 months as director. But that wasn't all. Charges were later brought against Petraeus for giving Broadwell classified information while serving as director. He pled guilty to the mishandling of classified information and was given 2 years probation.
The charge is a misdemeanor. Prosecutors recommend 2 years probation and a $40,000 fine.
Anthony Weiner.
I'm here today to again apologize for the personal mistakes I have made.
Weiner served in the U.S. House of Representatives between 1999 and 2011, which is when he was brought down by a very nasty and very public sexting scandal. Weiner was caught sending sexually suggestive photos to multiple women and resigned from Congress in the wake of the scandal.
Unfortunately, the distraction that I have created has made that impossible. So today I am announcing my resignation from Congress.
That was just the beginning of his problems. Weiner then ran for New York mayor in 2013, but more suggestive photos were leaked, and he ultimately placed fifth. It gets worse. The FBI discovered that Weiner had been sexting a minor, resulting in both a 21-month prison sentence and a divorce from his wife.
And Anthony Weiner has already lost so much: his congressional seat, the chance to be New York City mayor, and his wife. Now this morning, he's waking up to the reality that on top of everything else, he's now about to lose his freedom.
John Stump.
That's not my question. Did you steal? I want to know if you and I are on the same page. Did Wells Fargo employees steal from 1 million to 2 million of their customers?
Beginning in 2016, Wells Fargo was caught in a massive banking scandal that sent enormous ripples through the financial world. The company enacted various fraudulent practices against their customers, like setting up extra checking accounts without their consent and hitting them with fees and charges. In this way, Wells Fargo made more money, their sales targets were reached, and their stock price continued to increase.
By the way, the stock has fallen, clearly has lost some value, but now some people are picking it up thinking it's a good value all of a sudden.
That is, until the scheme was uncovered and the bank was hit with massive fines. Wells Fargo was overseen by Chairman and CEO John Stumpf, who resigned in the wake of the scandal, paid millions in legal fees, and was ultimately banned from the banking industry.
I accept full responsibility for all unethical sales practices in our retail banking business.
Alexander Hamilton.
That's when I began to pray, Lord, show me how to say no to this. I don't know how to say no to this.
A hugely important figure in the development of America, Alexander Hamilton was a founding father and the country's first Secretary of the Treasury. Hamilton was paramount in figuring out the country's complex economic system, but his professional reputation took a major blow in 1797 when he admitted to having an affair.
This is the eye of the hurricane. This is the only way I can protect my legacy.
Considered the first sex scandal in American history, Hamilton admitted to sleeping with a woman named Maria Reynolds and paying her husband blackmail money to keep it a secret. The scandal significantly tarnished Hamilton's reputation, especially among his political enemies. And while it didn't completely ruin his career, it significantly lessened his power and influence in government.
We're never gonna be president now. We're never gonna be president now.
Sepp Blatter.
Qatar.
This was the moment back in 2010 when Qatar won its bid to host the World Cup. A huge victory for the tiny but incredibly wealthy country of just 3 million.
A very famous name in football, Sepp Blatter joined FIFA in 1981 as the organization's secretary general. He slowly but surely worked his way up the corporate ladder and was made president in 1998. But it was under Blatter's leadership that FIFA was hit with a devastating corruption case.
From protests like this one,
Shame on Qatar, shame on FIFA,
to players taking a stand. So, how did we get here?
Said case is complex and multifaceted, but includes FIFA accepting bribes in return for marketing rights, rigging the host bidding process, and embezzling funds. The FIFA Ethics Committee fired Blatter in the wake of the scandal and banned him from future FIFA activities. The highly controversial Qatar World Cup is thought to be the result of bribery enacted during his reign.
Sepp Blatter has admitted the decision to award the World Cup to Qatar when he was FIFA president was a mistake.
Elizabeth Holmes.
Holmes reporting for her 11-year sentence after being found guilty last January of 4 counts of wire fraud in connection to the now infamous blood testing scam in her company, Theranos.
To hear Elizabeth Holmes tell it, her company had revolutionized the business of blood testing. Holmes started a tech company called Theranos, which claimed to have made a blood testing machine that made the process infinitely easier, not to mention faster. The business made her rich, and Forbes named Holmes the youngest self-made female billionaire in American history.
What if you could test your blood in your own home? And what if it's not a whole vial, but just a drop?
However, investigators soon began digging into Theranos and found a wide network of fraud and deceit. The machine didn't work, and Holmes had knowingly misled investors while robbing them of millions. She was eventually convicted of fraud and sentenced to 11 years in prison.
Elizabeth Holmes taking her last steps of freedom, looking back as her partner and parents wave goodbye and blow kisses her way.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Sam Bankman-Fried is facing a long list of charges, including wire fraud and money laundering. He's now on the stand to defend himself, but what is his defense?
Crypto is one of those hot new trends that everyone wants to try, and Sam Bankman-Fried was heading our charge into the future. He created FTX, which, by the summer of 2021, was the world's 3rd largest cryptocurrency exchange company. But it all collapsed in November of 2022, when FTX was accused of conducting fraudulent banking practices.
There's so much we don't know. There's so much we don't know.
Well, here's what we know. He's broke.
And he's in big trouble.
Many customers withdrew their money following the accusation, and FTX quickly went bankrupt. Bankman-Fried was arrested on various fraud charges and eventually convicted of all 7 counts. In March 2024, the crypto king was given a 25-year prison sentence for his crimes.
Breaking news tonight here in Top Story. Sam Bankman-Fried guilty on all 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy.
Martin Shkreli.
Overnight, headlines turned Martin Shkreli into the most hated man in America after he raised the price of Daraprim more than 4,000%.
This businessman made headlines in September of 2015 when his company, Turing Pharmaceuticals, acquired the license for Daraprim, a drug used to prevent pneumonia and treat parasitic diseases. Turing increased the price of the drug by over 5,000%, meaning its price per pill soared from $13.50 to $750.
Now, come on. Now, that sounds like pure evil.
Later that year, Shkreli was arrested by the FBI and charged with securities fraud. While the charges were not related to the Daraprim hike, Shkreli believes that his newfound publicity made him a target of federal investigators. Shkreli engaged in fraudulent business practices at prior companies and was eventually found guilty of securities fraud, being sentenced to 7 years in prison.
That smile had been replaced by tears as he pleaded with the judge, asking for leniency.
Bernie Madoff.
Bernie Madoff is breaking his silence. The con man behind the biggest Ponzi scheme in history decided to speak out from his prison cell, and it is no surprise to us that one more time ABC's Barbara Walters got the big interview.
The finance world is equally alluring and intimidating, and sitting at the top of it was Bernie Madoff. Madoff was as successful as Wall Street gets. Chairman of the NASDAQ stock exchange and with a company worth billions, he was the man that everyone on Wall Street aspires to be.
And he was elected to 3 terms as the chairman of the board of NASDAQ. And in the early 90s, he was a trusted, respected Wall Street statesman.
But there's no accounting for family. Madoff's own sons sold him out, confessing to authorities that their father's company was nothing but a giant Ponzi scheme that had stolen billions from investors. Madoff was arrested by the FBI and pleaded guilty to 11 felonies, resulting in a prison sentence of 150 years. He died in prison in 2021.
My father, what he did was awful and affected the lives of so many people.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Richard Nixon.
Throughout the long and difficult period of Watergate, I have felt it was my duty to persevere.
Bernie Madoff was head of the financial industry, but Richard Nixon was head of the country. Careers don't get much more prominent than that. Between 1969 and 1974, Nixon served as the 37th President of the United States, presiding over the moon landing, pulling out of Vietnam, and establishing the Environmental Protection Agency. However, his tenure was significantly overshadowed by the infamous Watergate scandal, in which men related to Nixon's re-election campaign broke into the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee.
You might want to send a maintenance man over to that office across the way. The lights are off and they must be looking for a fuse box or something because them flashlights, they're keeping me awake.
Their aim was to plant various listening devices, but they were caught and arrested. Investigators traced the break-in back to Nixon, who resigned before he could be impeached. This offense makes Nixon the only president in American history to resign from office.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
What do you make of these scandals? Let us know in the comments below.
Damn! I had frequent meetings with her. Most of them in my own house. At his own house. At his own house.
Damn.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.